And I'm gonna do the Rhino intro very fast. And already in this tutorial, I'm gonna do the Rhino to Illustrator to InDesign. Okay, in the last video will be how can we start actually creating the projects at the bottom, because maybe somebody wants to jump into that already. Okay, so if you can, you should open Rhino and start familiarizing with how it works if it's the first time. If it's not, you probably want to do it as well to refresh what's cooking here. Okay, it's when you open Rhino, it's going to be something like this, slightly different, but something like this. It's the same as saying file new, and it's going to ask you basically what is the size and the units that you're going to be using for the project. I recommend, just because we're doing buildings and interior design and so on, it's going to be large objects, feet. If you were in Europe, probably you would use meters or centimeters, whatever, but feet is probably the way to go. If you're starting Rhino now, be patient, because even if you click on large object feet, it will take a while until it really starts.
Can I ask why it's feet and not like feet and inches? Because won't it be, I don't know, less precise if it's only giving you things in feet and not also the inches?
What I normally do is, this is just a way to start, but then I go to units, and I'll explain that in a second. And then I place feet and inches as well. So you will, that's feet here, but here you can say feet and inches, and you can set the precision to whatever you want, which I think this is good.
Oh, and how did you open that?
Yeah, so I was gonna get to that. Everybody has this screen where you have 4 windows and Rhino open, or it will probably take a little bit in the beginning, but let's go for it. Okay, Rhino's a modeling software. It's quite powerful, I think. It's great for modeling almost very intuitively, very fast, once you get hold of it. And it's great for fabrication and things like that. If you want to CNC, or if you want to do like some 3D printing, or if you want to do some laser cutting and things like that, I think it's a great tool. So yeah, your question was about units. So, but I want to talk about how this works before that. When we open Rhino, we have 4 windows, and as you click on each window with the left button, it turns blue. The text on the top left of each window, it says perspective, top, front, right, perspective. So you know you're working on that particular view because it's blue, and you can do things in the views. It's different views of the same objects or the same space. So you can double click on the particular text to make it, to expand that view, and you can go back to 4 views by clicking on the text again. You can do the same with any of the text. Zooming in and out is the scroll button of the mouse. I do recommend you have a mouse if you're gonna model in 3D. That's very important. With your pad is almost impossible. Same with Revit and any other software. Double click on the text, double click on front, zoom in, zoom out. Select will be, the same as AutoCAD, and many similarities are with AutoCAD. So you can go top, right, click on the mouse, left button, and then bottom left, this is just selecting, and then top left, bottom right is basically grabbing. Very similar to AutoCAD, the same actually. We don't have anything, so I'm not selecting anything. If you're in the perspective, the same. Zoom in and zoom out is the scroll button. When you're in perspective, right click, it's orbitating. If you want to pan, you need to do shift and right click. If you're on top, right or back views, you right click is going to be panning. There's no orbitating. Makes sense. It's a orthographic view, so can't really orbitate.
Can I say something?
Sure.
My perspective view turns white.
Your what?
My perspective view turn white.
Maybe under the triangle, you have it under a particular different view. If you click on the triangle right next to perspective, you can have it as wireframe, shaded,
Yes.
and you can see it rendered. If it's rendered, it's all white because that's like a floor in a way. Depending on the setting, you're going to be seeing different things. I recommend working under shaded and wireframe for now. Okay, so how do we do stuff? Well, you have action tools similar to the Adobe. You can do stuff by clicking on buttons. And you have the properties world, which is here. You have layers. You have properties is the circle with color. And properties for other things like rendering, materials, and so on. Most important for now is just think of the cake. That's the layers and the properties, the circle with multiple colors. Again, you can create things by clicking on them. Like I want to do a point, so I can click on the point and press the left button of the mouse to create a point, and I can select it. You can create a, I don't know, a box. But the most important lesson here is that
Can you do that again? What did you just do?
I went to the image, the little button that shows like a little box.
Okay.
I clicked on it, and then I clicked 3 times to create a box.
Oh, okay.
I'm selecting everything, as I said, top left, bottom right, or if I want to grab them, I can go top left, bottom right, or top right, bottom left to select and press delete if you want to delete things. They turn yellow when they're selected. If you select them, the property shows information about the object that you have selected. No, this is like AutoCAD, so good. Now, I mean, if you want to go to the button, that's fine, but I do recommend that you understand the command line here. Command line is basically this little area with a blinking line that is waiting for you to introduce a command. It's the same as in AutoCAD. AutoCAD, you write the commands and you press enter, and then you follow the instructions to do something, no? So in the sense of the box, we type box. If we don't know, what is exactly the command, Rhino tells us what are the options. So its box is right there. You press enter once you're done with the command, and you follow instructions.
I have a couple of questions.
Go for it.
Sorry, I'm behind. I keep hitting the middle button and I keep getting like a set of, I don't know, what, 10 different options. That's like the pop-up window that I keep moving out of the way. Oh, no, I really messed it up. What did I do there? Can I Control Z? Probably not. No, of course not. Okay. I've lost all of my
Okay.
commands and it's been replaced by that pop-up window. And I don't know how to delete my box.
You don't know how to delete?
Yeah, it's that thing. And when I went to move it over, it then took the place of my entire bar on the left-hand side.
Like that?
Yeah, but it's just the one. I don't know where the rest of them are. They're gone. I don't know where they went. Oh
Okay.
no.
Don't worry, because you don't need them. Don't worry. So if you click on the center button, you get it's called a pop-up menu, which is a great shortcut that you might want to use. Maybe for now we just forget about it. Don't click the center button just yet. Maybe you're obviously using the Revit commands, and
I know. Well, there's like this default muscle memory, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly. So don't worry. If it pops out, say, "Oh gosh," and you close it with the X. Okay. You can also just leave it up there and leave it there. You can just move it 1,000 times until it disappears. So in Rhino, the center button is important, but it's mostly for zooming in and then for that pop-up menu, not for many other things.
Okay. How do I delete the box?
It's not delete, it's more of a close. So you have an X to the top right.
No, I mean, I made a box. Like I made a 3D box.
Oh, okay. So,
and then the delete button doesn't delete
let's go
it.
step by step. Don't worry. We did a box by typing, pressing enter. And you follow instructions. This is the general way to go. We type the thing that we want to do and we follow instructions. And in the instructions in the command line says first corner or base. Then when you click once, it changes the instruction, other corner or base. And then when you click, it changes instructions to height. So I created a box. Now you're saying, how do I delete the box? Well, you need to select the box first with the left button. You click on the box, it turns yellow, and then you click the button delete.
Yeah, I did that. Okay. Never mind. I'll just work with you later because I've now completely jacked this up. So.
Okay, yeah, we can take a look afterwards. Don't worry.
Cool.
Again, you can select all kinds of things by just using the left button of the mouse and then pressing the delete. If it turns yellow, it should be good. So we're doing a bunch of boxes, the same as in AutoCAD. If you click on enter, remembers the last command, and it just repeats the same command box.
And are you clicking 3 times or are you just protruding it upward?
This is different boxes. I'm pressing enter to repeat the last command, which is box. And then I know that by clicking 3 times, enter, click 3 times, enter, click 3 times, enter. Okay, so that's giving me this row of boxes. It's the command box, enter, and follow the instructions. Click, click, click. Okay, I could do it again. I could type box, enter, click, click, click. Type box, enter, click, click, click. Type box, enter. Now, instead of typing box and box and box, Rhino, like many softwares, AutoCAD, has this option when you press enter, it remembers the last command and it does it again. In this case, it was box. So if you press enter, automatically I'm doing a box. Click, 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 enter, click, 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 enter, click, click, click. Okay. Something to practice slowly is not gonna, be easy in the beginning. Just be aware that there's some things such as pressing enter repeats the last command. Okay. Great. So that's one command, box. Other commands, move. Select an object, press enter when done, move point from here to there. Move, enter, say select object to move, this one. Press enter when done, enter. Point to move from here, left button to there. I can select a bunch of things, say move all of those things from here to here. I can select these things, move from here to there. Again, it might take a little bit. It's an issue of practicing these simple commands. There's another tool, Gumball. Down here, if you click it, turns bold. You could select an object. This little gumball appears. You can use arrows to move things in the direction of the arrows. Or you can use the arcs to rotate things. Or you can use the box to scale things different ways. Again, practicing slowly in no rush. In the layers, the cake has a default 5 layers. If you don't see them, don't worry. You can say new layer as many times as you want. For each layer, you can change the color of that layer in the box. You can say, I want that layer to be gold. I can double click on the layer and change the name, like cool. I can select a bunch of objects and I can right click on the layer to change those objects to that new layer, change object layer. They turn the color of the box. I can turn them off and on. I can lock them so I can't select them. So I'm going to do it again. If you select a couple objects, I can do, let's put them in layer 4. I can right click on layer 4, change object layer, and it turns the color of the box. I can lock them, I can turn them off and on, and obviously I can double click the layer to change the name. Hello. Again, you can select objects, take them to another layer, right click, change object layer. They will go to layer 1, which is red. Can change the name of the layer if I want to. I recommend you do. Say, great. Normal layers would be like windows, walls.
Can you do that again?
Sure.
The changing of the layers?
Let's say I want this box to go to layer 3. I select it. I right click on layer 3 and I go to the bottom to change object layer. Automatically, if you have a color associated to that layer, in this case it's blue, that object will turn blue. You can change the color, obviously, of that layer, and that object that is in that layer will turn into that color. You can change the name of the layer. Yeah. Turn off, on, lock, unlock, change color, etc., etc.
After you right clicked, what option did you pick?
Change object layer.
Okay.
Okay. Again, select objects, right click on layer, change object layer, turns into the color of that layer. You can change the color if you want to. And again, you can change the name. Okay. And turn off and on, etc. Okay, well, commands. We can copy. That's another command. Enter. Follow instructions. Select objects to copy. This one. Press enter when done. It says from where to where. From here to here. You can copy as many as you want, but if you want to copy only one, you need to escape. Okay. Important tools are down here. You have the attraction tools or the snapping tools. If you don't see them, you need to click on snap here. And then all of these points, and again, if you know AutoCAD, you should know these things. If they're checked, you're attracted to those particular points. No? So if I have end points check, which is the first option, I can say U box, move exactly from this point precisely to, for example, that point precisely. Move, command, enter. From here, notice how it snaps and it says end. That is snapping exactly there, nowhere else. Click, go to the top, another snap, there. So I want everybody to try to place one box on top of another box precisely, not approximately, precisely. I'm going to do it again. Say this box. I'm going to actually move this box from this exact point. I snap to that point to this exact point. I snap there as well. Let's do it for a while, and I'm going to pause this. There you go. So under the top, you have several other toolbars. The first one is called standard, and you can find them as you have the pan option, the orbitating, the zooming. For moving, that's a good point. I've never used moving because I find it should be. I noticed that each of the tools here has a little triangle on the bottom right. That is to expand the tools. Let me see. Here, that's move.
Okay.
And you can move in different ways. That's copy right there. This is rotate, and this is scale. So for example, if I want to move this, command move, press enter when done from here to here. If I want to rotate, there are different options, but the normal one is what is the center rotation, what is the axis, and then what is the, the rotation angle. If you want to scale, you type scale, you press on a point, that's the center for scaling, and then you can scale that direction. Again, there are many other, there's scale 1D, which allows you to scale in one direction, so like stretching. The scale 2D just keeps changes two scale values, X and Y, but not Z, for example. And then the scale, the normal scale is changing from a center in all directions. All of this goes with numbers, and that's important to acknowledge. If I actually say rotate command, select an object, press enter when done, say from here, and I say, let's say from there, and then I can click a number for rotation, degrees. So I can say 45 and then press enter. I can also select this and say move and say from here and in that direction, 10 units. Okay. Or 100 units from here, 100.
For rotate, are we able to pick either corner of the object and then have corner 1 be the origination point? You know what I mean? Versus having to work in a circle.
Yeah, exactly. So you definitely need a center rotation. You select the object, press enter when done. You can say here is my center, because that's what it says, center rotation here, and then you could snap to another point and then say 90 degrees.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
And that will do the reference. You can do it manually as well. In this case, you can do rotate and then go to the midpoint and go to another midpoint and then do 90 degrees. So, it's a bit more, once you do this 5 to 10 times, it kind of makes sense. That's the center that you have to, the center becomes a very important input for the rotation. A bit more of the next level of rotation is that you have the rotate 3D option, which is select the object, enter, and then what you do is give an axis. Let's say this axis, and then within the perpendicular plane to that axis, you can click a rotation. But I recommend maybe to start using the top front views to rotate. So you can go to the front view, select something and rotate the normal rotate. And then do that over here. No, because if I go now to the 4 windows, look what I'm doing in the front view and what it's doing in the perspective, no? $45 degrees. Again, the gizmo is also useful for these things, especially moving if you want freely, it's good. And rotating, you can rotate. The problem with the gizmo is that it is always in the center, not always, but it's mostly in the center of gravity of that volume. So it's always in the center of that area. So if you want to rotate this box from that point with the gizmo is a little tricky. I mean, you just need to displace it here and then rotate. So it becomes much easier to do rotate and say, this is my center here and then 45 degrees, no? Instead of using the gizmo and saying 45 degrees, blah, blah. With the gizmo, you can also rotate numerically. You click on top of the arrows and you say, move this 50 or move this minus 50. You can rotate by clicking on the arc and say 45 degrees, 30 degrees. And you can scale by clicking on the box and saying 2, and it will stretch it twice. Scale value in numbers is also easy. Scale from this point and then say 2 times. That will be scaling twice. Okay. Again, practicing, changing layers here, moving, rotating, snapping, and scaling all these things until you kind of hold on to how it works. Especially in the beginning, it's going to be a little bit tricky, but then you will find yourself a bit more comfortable with it. Okay. Obviously, if we go and double click here and go to top view, you can use all of the first options. Those are, you know, like AutoCAD orthographic type of drawings are also easy to do. So you can do rectangles, command rectangle. Okay. You have obviously many ways to do a rectangle. You have ellipses. You have circles, of course, polylines. All of those are with a particular command that is exactly what you think it is. Curve is a command. Press enter when you're done. You can edit the curves, same as in AutoCAD. The points, or move the entire option by saying move from here to there. Again, polygons, you can do fillets, you can trim this over there. So it's the same as AutoCAD, trim with this curve that, trim with this other curve, this one. You can extend, the same, selecting another object, so it goes to that one. This is AutoCAD stuff. You can create a line and start using that line as a trim. Another line. Use those lines as trimming in the middle. Extend again, as I say.
Is there an equivalent to an explode if you've made a shape but then you want to turn that shape into individual lines?
That's a great point. If you do a polyline, this is a chain of lines, so you can select that one and it selects the whole thing. But if you explode this guy, you are left with a bunch of lines separated. If you join them, you'll go back to the polyline. So that's very similar. I did do the same as AutoCAD. You can select and deselect. If you want to select, add to the selection is Shift, turns yellow. If you want to deselect, it's Control to deselect, etc., etc. Explode and join also works with shapes. So if you have this box is called a solid because it's watertight. If you pour in water, it won't come out, and because it's not separated faces. But if I actually explode this, then you're left with a bunch of faces or surfaces. Okay. If I go back, Control Z or Z, you can select them all and join them, and you will go back to the surface that is united. No. So that's similar. Good thing if you have a plane, for example, command plane, you can rotate it with the gizmo, bring it in, for example, here. And you can use the trim. Oops. Oh, what happened there? The trim also works for 3D. You can select the plane, enter, and get rid of that. So then you cut it in 3D. You can also use the trim again with the green, enter, select that one. So I trim that one, and I can join these guys to create a new volume or new solid. So that's using the trim in 3 dimensions. Again, in the beginning you say, oh, that's too much. It's an issue of practicing and so on.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
What about the offset tool for the 2D drawings?
The same, I go to a top view. By the way, if you do Control Tab, you go from one view to the next. So when I'm in perspective, I say Control Tab and I go to top view. And if I want to do a fillet here, you can do fillet. It could be curve, radius. And then you just select those two and it makes it. If you want to press enter to repeat the commands, change the radius to 5 and increases, radius to 10. Okay, radius to 50. Okay. There's all kinds of fillets, as you can see here. You have also the chamfer curves. You have a bunch of stuff. I will keep it simple for now. I wouldn't go crazy with all the other stuff. So yeah, fillets, you have offsets. If you have a polyline and you do an offset, it's the same as AutoCAD. Have distance option. If you say 10, you click a polyline, it goes outwards or it goes inwards, no? If it's a polyline, let me join these guys. I can do an offset, distance 20, and then say to the interior, to the exterior. And there you go. Offsets work also obviously for curves, for anything. For surfaces, a little more tricky.
Can that be turned into a volume? Sorry, like if you were to close off the ends of, I don't know, the ziggy-zaggy guy, can you extrude that like you would in, say, SketchUp?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to talk about now. Great.
Sorry.
No, that's great. If I have a rectangle, you need to have a set of curves that they're, you can extrude anything you want, but it has to be, if it's planar, it will help. And you know it's planar when you create things on perspective. You're drawing on this thing called the C-plane. So I'm drawing everything on that kind of a floor of Rhino. So I created this, and if I extrude, it's the command extrude and allows you to extrude vertically up or down, and you can do numerically 245, extrude that up. Now, when you extrude something, let's say this guy, you have many options, sub options here. Say both sides, could say solid yes or no. When you say solid no, as default that it is, you won't create a cap on the top and in the bottom. I'm deleting that. If I do extrude and then select enter and then solid yes, it creates a cap on top and the bottom. So that would be a solid. You can do extrude of this, but you can do, I mean, you can do solid yes, but it won't do it because it's not close. So as you said, you can do a line here and here, repeat command here and there, and then join those to create a polyline like in AutoCAD or SketchUp that is close. And then you can do extrude, make sure it's solid yes, and then you have like a wall in a way, no? So if I do another circle command here, and I select both of them and extrude, that's also going to give it as a donut. It's going to keep the center open. If I have several rectangles inside of another one, and I select them all together and extrude, that's going to create some kind of a window system, no? If I move this out and I create a line also connecting and closing the ends and join those and extrude them afterwards, I can create a wall also with that geometry. So extrude is a very powerful tool. It's simple. You need one curve or several curves. By the way, you can extrude one single set of curves and you won't get a solid, but it will do, it will do it as well. If you want solids, you definitely need an enclosed or a closed curve or system of curves to create a solid. And solid is important because solid is what allows you to do the Boolean operations, which is the first options here. Boolean operations between two solids. Let's say a sphere, command sphere, and a box, command box. They need to relate to each other. If they relate to each other, you can say, oh, let's see if I want the piece in between them, or the piece that one will be carving from the other one, or vice versa. So I can do Boolean operation, and there's several options. It's two objects, difference, intersection, split, union. You start with difference. You select one solid, enter, the other one, enter. And what it does is that the second one carves out from the first. Control C.
Can you do that again?
I'm gonna do like 20 times slowly. Yeah.
Okay.
So Boolean difference is, again, these two spheres touching here, those buttons, the 3 first or the 4 first are Boolean operations. You need two solids, one inside or merge with or touching another solid. Okay. Like this sphere and box, two boxes, two spheres, whatever it is, two extrusions. Boolean difference, you select one object, you follow instructions, says press enter to continue, and then select second option, and then enter. And what it does in this case is carve out whatever the sphere was. Next option, that's difference, Boolean intersection. So if I want the middle ground of the two, intersection, I select one and another one and press enter. And it gives me the center common area to both. Control Z. Boolean union, what it does is, right now I have one that doesn't understand the other one. It's just inside of the other one, and this one as well. But if I want to have one solid that understands or is shaped by both at the same time, you select that one, this one, Boolean union. And even though it seems the same, now it's one single solid. Okay, so now I could take, for example, this solid here, scale it up, and then I could do another Boolean difference between that solid, enter, and this one. So now it's cutting. I don't know if you see this, what happened there. Okay, or the opposite, Boolean difference. Okay. Sphere, box, split. There's another one. It's just a mix of the previous. Select one, another one, and what it does. Oops. What it does is several. It does the difference and this, the intersection and the difference of the two. So you keep the original, you get the middle ground, and then you split out from the second. So it's almost like a combo of difference and split and intersection. In general, Boolean operations are great. You can do a bunch of things. If you have a wall like this, I could go to my right view, for example. This is the wall. And I can create, for example, rectangles here. I can go to the perspective, select them, extrude them, make them go through the wall and then do a Boolean difference between the wall and the objects, and that will create the openings. No? So Boolean difference doesn't have to be between 1 and 1. It could be between 1 and many, or between many and many. As long as they're touching each other, it will work. Again, it requires a lot of practicing. I recommend for those that are starting with this to maybe follow this video tutorial again and try this command slowly and carefully. We will see many other things as we go forward, but I think as an intro, I'm sure I'm missing something, of course. Well, again, you can see things differently, shaded, wireframe. You can see rendered this. Just good sometimes, ghosted. You can see a little bit through them, X-ray, blah, blah. I normally just work in shaded or wireframe. Blue sphere is the rendering. So if you want to check how the rendering quality is going to be, you right click on the blue sphere. Here you get the properties of the render. You get the resolution or quality. You get the quality here, draft, good, final. Just going to select the very low res for now to demonstrate. You can check some of the backdrop or background. You want a ground or transparent background. There's several settings here, the lighting and so on. But in general, if you keep it simple, it should do a quite simple render of whatever you have in your window. No? Most probably it's not an amazing render because you need to improve the resolution and so on. If you want to change the materials, now the box in color is actually not the material of the object. That's just the way you see the object in the screen. So let me make an example. So dark blue. This object is in layer 7. I'm titling it curve. I can turn off and on. I can change the color and lock it. No matter how many times I change this box color, the rendering is always going to be white. Okay. So what we need to do is change the circle to the right of the box. The circle is what controls the materiality of the objects in that layer. So you will call it like, whatever, curve, mat, wood, or whatever it is. You select the type of material it is and the color. You have a preview there. You can do, reflections or whatever, but now you can see that the circle corresponding with a layer is actually set to a blue color. So now if we render, that will take that color. And it's reflective and so on. Okay, there's many other options like line type. This is similar to AutoCAD stuff, the color of printing and so on. But maybe we won't use that because what we're doing is taking things to Illustrator and fixing them over there. No? Okay, I'll call the introduction as an end there.